Hey guys, Brad here. I am extremely excited. Last night was like Christmas Eve as a little kid because I have procured a 2017 Porsche 911 Carrera 4S Cabriolet. This thing is 420 horsepower out of a 3-liter engine, twin turbocharged, $140,000 sticker price. This is a serious car. But before I tell you more about it, let's get this thing out of the city. I think it's safe to say this is the most I've ever enjoyed being in traffic. This car lures you into thinking that it's completely refined all the time, and then it reminds you that it can do that. Probably the most exciting thing about driving the Porsche 911 is knowing the history and the lineage behind it. The car has been around for 50 years, so it's a car that has a lot of soul to it. This car actually still has a connection to the original one 7 generations ago, I think 1964. And it's sad because so many people own and drive these things, and the car has become like a real luxury commodity, kind of an oxymoron. And part of that is because people buy them, they buy them brand new, they don't really learn anything about them, they certainly don't drive them the way they were meant to be. So many of these get sold with barely 10,000 miles on the odometer after 4 or 5 years of owning them. So that's what I like about it, is the history. This is the 991 variant, which is the third whole new platform that they ever made for this car. This was the first time a base Carrera has been turbocharged, which is kind of interesting because this thing is now pumping out as much horsepower as the 911 Turbo S back in 2001 or so. Now, of course, the new 911 Turbo S is well over 500 horsepower, and that's what's so fun that I've been enjoying myself driving this, and I'm very reluctant to return it, is that this is a car that you can just get in and drive every single day. It's got fun options that you can play with, like I keep sport mode engaged almost the entire time, and there's a sport exhaust mode as well. I don't know if you'll be able to hear through the video, but okay, so I've just shut off the exhaust mode, so I'm sort of losing that compression burble whenever I take my foot off the gas. And there it is, it's back. That's half the reason you buy this car and pay the price that you do, is to listen to that, the fit and finish of it, and you understand that there's cars like, say, the Dodge Charger, the Hellcat, the Camaro, that have pretty much just as much power as this car does for half the price. It makes people ask, why would I get this? Well, I I kind of flip that around on its head and would ask somebody, well, there's $300,000 cars, various Ferraris and Aston Martin that aren't much faster than this. And again, it makes this car a relative bargain. And I think it's worth every penny. As I said, $140,000 sticker price on this car. And that's cool by me. Listen to that. Pop, 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 pop. Brilliant. So this car is all-wheel drive. Kind of reminds me of my dog coming around the corner in the kitchen when he's just digging his paws into the ground. It's a little bit like that, except a heck of a lot more efficient. There's 305s out back, Pirellis, and there's a neat gauge on the car that shows you when the power is being transferred to the front wheels. And it's, I kid you not, it's almost boring how you can't really get this car to break traction. A lot of cars with this kind of power are so unruly, and this really lends itself to being a daily driver because it has that all-wheel drive. The Pirelli tires are excellent, and maybe that makes it boring. It'd be fun to have the GT3 and shutting off the traction control and sliding it all around. But being practical, which again might be a bit of an oxymoron owning this car, for a daily driver, the all-wheel drive, driving in the rain, it's a very easy car to drive in terms of sports cars. You can put this car wherever you want to put it on the road, it will do it. The torque comes on so early in this car. At about 1700 RPMs, you're already working with over 300 foot-pounds of torque. And you feel those turbos behind you spooling up, welling up with power, and it just propels you. And the car just goes and goes and goes, and from early on in the RPM range. So well that you can be driving the car caught in the wrong gear, maybe lugging the engine in third or fourth, and the car will take you out of it rather nicely. It is an automatic, the Porsche Doppelkupplung, as they call it, which I think is German, Klingon. You don't pronounce it, you use it. And it shifts extremely fast, extremely crisply, and it of course rev match downshifts the engine for you. So again, that's a premise that comes back to what I was talking about earlier about some of the aspects of the car that can almost make it boring. I am a purist. I do like using a manual gearbox. I like matching the engine speed on my own. But if that's not something that you know how to do, or if you're in traffic or tired or whatever, and having the option to go into the automatic, this kind of can't be beat. Suspension is fantastic. I have it in sport mode right now, which tightens it down a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty great. it's a little bit confusing that the base Carrera now is turbocharged, and then yet again there is the turbo model. Porsche doesn't seem to really even advertise it much, perhaps because they know that it's a confusing delineation amongst the models, but it's fantastic. The base Carrera is now 370 horsepower, and they were able to get a lot of weight off the car by shrinking the engine down to 3 liters and getting that power out from the turbos. And then this one, of course, the 4S, is all the way up to 420 horsepower, which is even more fun. And in a very docile driving manner, too, until you open it up a bit. This car is a sexy car. It's definitely a head turner without being obnoxious. Well, that's relative too. Someone might think it's obnoxious, but I think this car is subdued enough in styling, not over the top like a very angular looking Lamborghini or something. It's very elegant, and again, harking back to the way this car has been for 50 years, is great. Explodes out the gate. The all-wheel drive really doing its thing. This car has another nifty little feature in the dashboard. It has a G meter. It shows how many G's you're pulling in all 4 directions. And I was actually able to pull almost an entire G, 0.9, just by hitting the brakes. That's how powerful they are. Yeah, it's just clawing through the turn. Very nice. A tunnel. The car was made for that, of course. A lot of times you test drive a car and you're able to walk away from it not coveting it. You think, I don't need to own a car like this. But with this car, I wish I owned this car. So it's got that fat ass look. I don't know what this car's preferred pronoun is, but I like its ass.